Hello, everyone. My name is Marina Jo. I'm the marketing director at Winch, and I welcome all of you to our webinar today, SaaS plus PaaS, the Great Merge. So we are very excited to have a strong panel with us today. To have a concrete experience on this topic, we are delighted to have Antoine Frack with us. Antoine is the VP Digital and Services at LACROIX. And LACROIX Environment is a provider of electronic equipment and industrial IoT solutions for water networks, HVAC installations, electrical smart grids, and public lighting networks. So Antoine has been leading the business model transformation of LACROIX Environment towards as a service business model for 2 years. And he has also spent more than 7 years at Eiger, a leading provider of solutions for electrical installations in residential and commercial buildings. Antoine, so we can say, accelerated the transition from hardware to software and recurring services. So Antoine, we can say that as a service has been the red thread of your career, which started in the telecom operators industry. So nice to have you with us, Antoine, today.
I'm pleased to be with you today and to share my experience through Eiger and LACROIX.
Great, thank you. So now, in order to have a more holistic view of the market practices, we have Michael Mansard. So Michael Mansard is the EMEA chair of the Subscribed Institute, a think tank dedicated to the subscription economy at Zuora. And Michael worked with more than 400 organizations across industries on this topic, with many in the industrial space. So Michael also works closely in his personal time with dozens of fast-growing companies, venture capital and private equity funds, with several of these being in the field of advanced manufacturing and industrial IoT. Great to have you with us, Michael, today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
And now we have also, in order to bring the best SaaS practices, we are delighted to have Olivier Bussenot with us. So Olivier is the senior advisor and SaaS expert at Winch. And Olivier has over 20 years of experience in SaaS and subscriptions, with a track record from companies like Zuora and Digital Root.
Hello.
Hi, Olivier. And last but not least, to drive the conversation, we have Yann Foutan as today's host. Yann is the CEO and the founder of Winch. And Winch is the world's exclusive authority in as-a-service solutions. So we help organizations scale their SaaS and recurring revenue solutions. So before we dive in, a quick practical points before we start. The session is being recorded, so you will receive the recording afterwards. And we'll keep at the end the Q&A. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go. Yann, over to you.
Thanks, Marinesh, for setting the stage. If I'm making a quick calculation, we bring about 80 years of experience in this room altogether. And we bring 80 years of French experiences. So we have noticed that all the speakers of this webinar today are French. So I want to make it very clear that everything you will hear during this webinar is global and could be applied in any geographies and not only French. Let's go to the core of the matter. So what we're exploring today together is the move for industrial players that will shift from a product-centric model to a value-centric model, thanks to SaaS and PaaS. And let's be clear, it's not a hype, it's a competitive baseline that is happening now on the market. So the first question we ask ourselves when we are preparing this webinar is, what are we talking about? What is platform? What is SaaS? What is IoT? What do we mean exactly? So to make this webinar very comprehensive for everyone, we will start by taking a few minutes to define what do we mean by platforms. So I will give you a few principles and then we will go into concrete examples. So platforms, it's the solutions, the IoT layers, the sensors, the tools that collect data from physical equipment. And it comes with the software component that sits on top of your hardware, using the data collected to deliver real value, insights, automation, optimization, new services. And this is no longer an option. If we look at this KPMG study recently published, digital-enabled industrial services are growing 28% per year. And by the end of 25, which is in a few weeks, manufacturers expect to be at 72% of their total services revenue coming from digital services. Let's go concrete. Olivier, can you help us with a concrete example?
Very concrete example for our customers in the manufacturing space. I often listen to like, oh yes, we have a platform that's a small dashboard collecting data. So we put a dashboard in front of our customers and they can know what's happening with their systems. It can be this, no disrespect, absolutely. But it can be much more. Let me take another example in industry. Augmented reality for maintenance technician, for example. This is a very cool and growing use case. The maintenance technician comes into your premises for fixing or doing something, changing a filter, with glasses, with an iPad, and the changing of a filter, which should be just a technical handling of a material, can become a touch point with the customer. So first, it's good for the maintenance operator because he has augmented reality, is in constant line with level 2 or level 3 support. He can show to the customer what's happening to the machine. He can propose a new bill of material for purchasing an option or whatsoever. So it's becoming really an intention of selling something and increasing the relationship. So in short, a platform could be any piece of software that increases anything relationship with your customers. So efficiency, customer relationship, long-term relationship with the customer. This is also the definition of a platform.
Thank you, Olivier. Michael, I'm sure you have a few more insights to share on this.
Yeah, fully agree with what Olivier just said. Being very concrete, let me just give you a couple of examples. Schneider Electric today, something I know quite well, 19% of the revenues in 2024 is coming from software and services, just to give you a perspective. Honeywell, you may have seen that recently Honeywell is spinning off into 3 different companies, of which one of them is becoming a pure play automation leader. And they do have a strong software-enabled portfolio on that specific company, by the way. And I could go on and on with Siemens, NCR, and so on. So in my opinion, right, AI is accelerating what has started before, this what you call great merger between product and SaaS. And that is going at an unprecedented speed. So AI is really what I would call the final ingredient of the convergence, which requires deep domain expertise. That's the physics you have with the machines as manufacturers, but it also meets SaaS expertise, which is the expertise in monetizing data. And now if I put that into perspective, the markets, for example, just for industrial AI software, it's some say 20%, others say 50%. That's a wide estimate, but let's say it's massive growth for the next 5 years. And we should be at about 40 billion by 2030 for the AI market in the industrial AI market in software, just software. So in short, the hardware gets in the room, but the software is what keeps your bank account very happy.
Thanks for that, Michael. Let's go to Antoine and some concrete examples. What kind of platforms you have built yourself on top of the hardware of LACROIX and Hager, and what value did you create for your customers with those platforms? Antoine, over to you.
I can share a bit of my experience in Hager or LACROIX. So in Hager, it was more on smart home products. So we develop a platform on top of a smart home connected product in residential building. And today in LACROIX, it's for industrial automation products. So like a product like data logger, RTU, PLC, connected RTU. And what Hager is doing, or what I did in Hager, was really to move a part of the feature, the intelligence from the hardware to the backend, to the platform. Whatever it is cloud-based or not, the fact that having instead of having like for instance 15 hardware SKUs, you create a single one, robust, generic, reliable, less expensive, configurable device, and that you can activate and customize capabilities by software from the platform. So from the platform, so you move a part of the intelligence of those devices to the platform, and the platform allow you to activate remotely those features. This is really the story of actually moving from product-centric to more customer-centric, I would say, a provider and then to be driven more by the customer experience than the product itself. The product, in that way, become more and more, I would say, the enabler and more commodities of a service you want to provide end-to-end. And all of this, actually, in my experience, enables, I would say, 4 main categories of capabilities, new capabilities. The first one is device and fleet management, firmware updates, managing cybersecurity, monitoring. The second one is control and command. So the platform allows us to remotely control and command our product on the field. And the 2 next new steps, I would say, will be more optimization and autonomy, which there we see involvement of more and more AI, of course. Another way to see it is actually to unlock 4 levels of data analytics maturity step we can imagine of new value we can capture and can generate. The first one is descriptive. It's a platform allow to make visualization on UI and interface of what's happening on the field. It's purely descriptive. The second one is diagnostic. Is starting to put some analytics with the help of AI or not of what could be the root cause of what you are seeing on the screen, I would say. Instead of doing manually, the platform can start to make some analysis of the data we get from the product to put a root cause, a diagnostic. Next step will be more predictive, is to anticipate what will be happen in the future, meaning that by analyzing the data we get from the product, we can detect some patterns and make some predictions. Here also with the help of more and more AI. And the final goal, the final step will be more the prescriptive step, where you are able to, by the platform, automatically do some actions before the issue or the things you can detect before it happens. All of this delivers some value to customers, so better uptime, more efficiency, faster decisions, and then services, and a way to make monetization of those services and to create product lighter, cheaper, and more evolutive.
I can summarize, Antoine, by saying that it's much more than just adding a digital layer to a piece of hardware. It goes way beyond what you have described, and we are entering the core of this webinar now. So now that we have defined what we mean by platform, let's go to I would say the $1 million question: how to merge SaaS and PaaS, and where to start. So when a manufacturer wants to move to everything as a service, to a SaaS model, there is a strategic question. From which angle do I enter this new offer? Do I accelerate on the SaaS side and I build or I boost my platforms so then I can bring product into the subscription later on? Or shall I start from scaling PaaS, product as a service, and create a subscription around physical products and then progressively add SaaS layers on top? There's no better way than the other, but today for this webinar we have chosen to focus on the first one, which is the SaaS angle and how SaaS can be used as a strong driver to activate SaaS. So as manufacturer, when you decide to boost your SaaS offering, you will not have the same way of structuring it as a pure SaaS player. You will certainly approach it like a manufacturer launching a new product, a new SKU. And this is where the pitfalls appear, and we are going to enter now into those 4 pitfalls. And for that, I've recalled, Marinesh, you've prepared a small poll for the audience.
Yes, exactly. So nice that you can see the poll directly on the chat. So basically what we'd like to know is which pitfall would you want to fix first when scaling your SaaS solution? So is it the lack of commercial motivation? So the team are not fully driven by growth goals? Or is it about monetization? The value is not captured really clearly? Or is it about IT and ERP alignments? The systems are not fully integrated? Or is it about mindset and culture? So basically people resisting change. So if you can just vote and tell us which pitfall you would want to fix first when scaling your SaaS solution, that would be good, so that then we can tackle and see what's the most important one for you. So looking at the votes, it seems like at the moment, monetization is one of the first one you would like to fix. and mindset and culture. So people resisting change seems to be as well one of the big challenges that everyone is facing, which is I'll let a few other people to vote as well, just to see what other answers are coming. But it looks like, yeah, monetization and mindset and culture are the two biggest hurdles. It's good because we're going to address them in the next few minutes. So thanks for voting. You can still take the poll, but then we're going to deep dive into each of those pitfalls.
We have no vote for IT and ERP alignment, which could be a hidden pitfall. So it's not to be, I would say, blinded or not to be avoided. Let's continue. Thank you for your vote. So we're going to start with the pitfall number 1, which is the lack of commercial motivation. What we see as a traditional sales logic for industrial is to sell a hardware and to book the margin of the sale of the hardware upfront, and to pay bonuses to the sales team when basically the invoice is paid back from deducted from this margin. And I'm going to be a bit arrogant and extreme. I would say the customer disappears for 5 years, and we will come back to the customer in 5 years with a new product and new specs to make a swap. The SaaS logic is the opposite. The profitability is spread over time. The success depends on the upsell, on the cross-sell, on the renewals that happens all along the contract. So landing the platform is just the beginning of the story, which is very different from a transactional sale. So if the incentive scheme stays the same, sales people will not push the SaaS platform. Olivier, something to add on that?
Yeah, that's funny. It's ranked so low because to me, it's the most important point. When I start a mission, this is the first question I ask. I want to ask to the sales manager to assess the SaaS maturity on the account. And the first question in this question I ask is, how do you compensate your salespeople? And as a matter of fact, if salespeople are compensated on, let's say, the old legacy model, no disrespect, but just like if a salesperson makes more money by selling a license or by selling hardware, not even mentioning as a service to the customer, because of personal interest, the model will never fly, absolutely never. So the first thing to set in place, and it can be a very quick win, is to set in place sales compensation calculation based on adoption of the platform, which could include the product as a service, so X as a service, which means set in place as well some other people that will not land but grow the account. Which could be another incentive maybe for other people like the team of the customer success managers. And maybe one last recommendation coming from SaaS to the industrial players is to consider the platform as a core value, not the product and then I sell a platform on top just to justify that I'm trendy, or I put an AI because it's trendy or useful. It could really become the core of the offer. And if things are going well as planned by the strategy and marketing, platform could be the offer that will justify the fact that your existing hardware that you have today will be naturally landing the offer as a service within the subscription of a platform as a combination of the software as an umbrella and the pieces of hardware. And that will be absolutely win-win for both growth and customer happiness.
Yeah, this really echoes what we heard from Antoine, which is the fact that the product is a commodity and that comes naturally with the platform. Michael, I know that when we talk about this topic, you like to refer to 25 years ago about the professional services in manufacturing and the challenges that were at that time.
Absolutely, and I'm sure I'm setting the stage probably for Antoine because I've been working with him very closely for years now. So Antoine, just setting the stage probably for you, but agreed. What we're seeing now is very similar to what we've seen when professional services started to be big push in manufacturing in 1990s, let's even say, but on steroids. And there's 3 key issues I consistently see globally, right? The first one, and let's be very real on this one, about 25 to 30% of the sales reps are able, have the mindset, the capability to sell intangible digital solutions effectively. Right, that's a fact. It is what it is. Second, and you mentioned it, Jan, the first year of recurring SaaS contract, whatever that is, SaaS product, whatever as a service, is usually a fraction of a full upfront hardware sales. And sales will always chase for the biggest and fastest commission. That's what they're paid for. Third, in most companies, the software layer has probably been bundled, discounted, if not even given away for free for years. And now many sales teams are scared to just sell it. So there's no easy fix. Antoine will give some probably examples of what is done, but it's very much always a two-phase at least approach. Phase one, you need to allocate a dedicated team, resources, internal champions, new hires to prove the model. You want to validate the product market fit, and you can document success stories. The team must have what I call a license to sell and to access clients, but it's absolutely not scalable. And then comes phase two. And during phase two, this is where you start investing a bit in large-scale sales enablement. You introduce commission plans on new recurring metrics such as annual recurring revenue, total contract value, and so on, and temporary incentives to boost the new model. If companies skip phase one and directly go into mass enablement, I can tell you that's a big budget that's never going to land. And we've discussed that with Antoine many times. So I'm assuming, Antoine, maybe you want to share some of your real-life scars on that?
Yes, with pleasure. And indeed, I confirm this absolutely resonates on what I see concretely on the LACROIX today and before in Ager with the sales team. And they are deeply integrated into product and our mindset. And they go directly to what is easy to sell, what they used to sell, the hardware. That's for sure. Also, what I can see on the sales force is they not necessarily all understand who are the new competitor on those platforms. Because with this transformation, there is a strong link with new competition entering in the game, and they are not the competitor we used to see. We are moving on to the value chain, and then we have pure player coming, we have other company who sometimes even our customers can become sometimes competitor. Those sales team has absolutely to be transformed, and I can confirm that a certain portion of them are more, I would say, open to this trend, and the rest is more difficult. The incentive topics is already something concrete, and we are actually working hardly on this topic to try to find the right scheme of incentive for recurring software. And also this link to KPIs, to new KPIs. What is RR? What is NRR? What is NRR? All of these new KPIs is absolutely not known by the sales force. It's also there a field of improvement in terms of culture who has to be learned to be taught to those teams. So the lack of reflex, lack of commercial speech and arguments are absolutely something concrete we can see on the sales force in industrial company. This is why, for instance, in LACROIX, we have decided to hire a specific business developer, software and services, who will be transversal to the sales team to evangelize all of this message, to help the team to grow, specifically starting by a core team with this 25% you mentioned, Michael, to lead this cultural shift as, I would say, a good relay from the product marketing and I would say the transformation team inside the sales team. The goal for him is also to develop new personal relationships towards our customer, because all of these new services, platform and software we develop on the top of product has a consequence that in our customer decision makers are different. So we need to speak to different people on the customer side. And our sales reps, sales force are not used to, have no contact with them. So we really need to go into business developer actions to create this new relationship, new contacts, etc., to understand more where the decision-making process on our customer side. It's also a way for us to kickstart the customer success manager practice, which is a new role coming directly with these new recurring services, which is absolutely not known in industrial company like us, and we need to kickstart it. At the end, it will act, this new business developer software and services, as an internal change agent into the sales to start the change.
So indeed, there's a lot of headwind for the salespeople, new competition, new persona, new incentive scheme, if there's one. new value proposition. And of course, that brings me to the second pitfall, which is the monetization and the pricing model that should also help and the salespeople and the CSM to do their job, meaning landing the deal and then developing it. So what we see is that when a manufacturer is launching a platform, we often see that there are huge challenges to be able to monetize it properly and to adopt the right pricing model, because pricing models of SaaS are not to compare with pricing model of hardware. I'd like to go direct back to you, Antoine, at Hager, at LACROIX. How did you monetize the SaaS part?
It's a very, very big topic, and we can discuss this for hours and hours, but to try to make it simple, in the experience I had on these two companies is clearly the fact that, and I will come back on what you mentioned, Michael, the free-to-fee. The platform is basically seen by product marketing, by the sales, as an enabler to sell product, basically, which is not. And the big roadblocks, I would say, is how to bring the product marketing into new techniques of packaging and pricing to show that there is a willingness to pay on this and to move to free-to-fee. Because many services, all of these companies are used to provide services for years. For instance, I can take a concrete example of installation tools. We have with our product today, the industrial automation product and PLC, but it was the same at Hager, some configuration and commissioning tools. So it's a software tools to help the customer to install the product in the field. Basically, these tools have been developed to help the sales to sell or to help the customer journey. And they are included into the price of the product. So on the best situation, they sell it in a transactional way, like a perpetual license for life, and that's all. And all the purpose is to show that there is pricing techniques and packaging techniques to move to free-to-fee by limiting the software and starting to create some packages of subscriptions to show that if you want more, if you are able to manage more product, more configuration, more features into the tool, you will start to pay a fee, to pay your subscriptions, and making upsell and cross-sell. This is really, I would say, a new skills that we need to bring into those industrial companies where actually and we will come back to this a bit later, that the product marketing is often composed with skills from engineering. People who are coming from engineering, R&D profile, and they are used to sell features and product and hardware. And moving to this packaging techniques coming from telco, coming from services, is really a new job. So we are deploying many techniques to improve the skills, to improve the way to develop these skills of pricing, packaging, simply. So in short, it requires identifying willingness to pay, feature tailoring, activation from the cloud, defining different packages. Also iteration, it's also something I see, that deploying many different product, different packages and different pricing model over the time regularly is something absolutely new for them. And they all know we will not be able to launch one pricing per year. No, we need to really be able to iterate more and to try and learn, actually.
Mm-hmm. Michael, do you want to echo what Antoine just mentioned?
I will echo, hopefully, and even amplify. So thanks, Antoine, for that. For most manufacturers, I would say that monetization is almost what I would call an atrophied muscle, because it's so different, right? And the root cause, I think you pointed to it, Antoine, is it's cultural. Manufacturing is stuck for most in a cost-plus pricing mindset, right? You know the cost, you know the margin you want to reach, boom, that's your sales price. And meaning that you're fixated in manufacturing on the price points that you often miss the larger picture, the bigger picture, which comes with continuous value delivery. That's why I typically see could have found 20, but 3 big mistakes, just as a basic level, right? The first one is manufacturer tend to launch with only one single unsegmented offer. Let's say one size fits none. And that's almost always a big missed opportunity, right? Because when you package properly, let's say bronze, silver, gold, classic, good, better, best. You add add-ons. That's going to lead, and I've seen that hundreds of times, that's going to lead to 20 to 30% incremental revenue. Same features, packaged differently. So just, let's say, the wrapping on the present leads to a lot of revenue without changing the product itself. The second thing is that manufacturers tend to actually price using a flat fee. So not only you have just one offer, but you're just going to say, let's say it's 50K per year. And we forget to leverage what's called pricing metric. Pricing metric, think of it as price per hour, price per processed item, price per whatever metric you can imagine that can move from output all the way through outcome or performance, right? There's a wide range of metric. We don't have time to go through that now, but think of it as a unit of measure. And that metric is important because first, it tells a value story. It's a narrative on its own. And second, it actually drives natural upsells motions. It's in the contract. If you want more, you pay more. So companies that leverage unit-based pricing, which can be declarative, which can be a usage or measured pricing, they tend to grow 1.3 times faster than those that do flat recurring. That's 2 points. The third and last point, manufacturing companies are engineering companies, and you mentioned it, Antoine, so they're looking for perfection. In fact, they should be aiming for iterations. I see a lot of companies either defining randomly way too late in the process, or they delay continuously the launch because they're waiting for, let's call it an elusive, perfect model. Reality is you'll never find it. You'll have to iterate. You'll have to use and ask your customers to help you to find it. You'll have to use the data to design it. Good news, 75% of companies that change their pricing report growth. Whatever they do, increase, decrease pricing, change is the only constant. So 3 things, more than one offer with a metric on which you're going to continuously iterate. So you're going to have to build that monetization, pricing, packaging muscle, as I said, because it's going to have a massive impact or oversight impact on your revenue and growth. And I dare to say it's a superpower.
Thank you, Michael, for making it very clear. And I'd like to move now to the pitfall number 3 of 4, which is the one for which nobody voted. And I think it's very interesting. We didn't have any vote there because this is a hidden, I would say, aspect to manage if you want to grow. And if it's not managed properly, as I love to say, you are going to scale your problems as you scale your business. And this is a problem that can scale very fast. So if the monetization evolves as we just discussed, your systems must be able to support it. We are talking about dynamic pricing. We are talking about the capacity to activate features for a certain period of time. We are talking about regular renewals of the contract that need to be eased. We are talking about usage-based billing based on the metrics that we've discussed just before. We're talking about multi-channel sales. We are talking about billing on behalf. We are talking about multiple ownership models. And most ERPs on the market today don't support this natively. This is something that has to be addressed specifically. Olivier, I know it's a topic where you are very expert on the matter. Could you say it better than I?
I will try. I used to be an enterprise architect. So what I know from the field is that if you want to save money by not changing your system, you will take the backfire at some point. So let me just take an example. The big trend nowadays is to have an AI. Okay, that's cool, that's handy. Most probably you want to monetize the AI because you don't want this to be just a cost for you. The way of monetizing an AI, I'm just trying to convince the audience they should have voted for this one. You understand? Monetizing an AI, it's all about outcome-based pricing, or at least usage-based pricing. How many requests, what was the value perceived, and so on. How do you want to do this in an ERP where you can only do price times quantity and put the VAT and call this an invoice? So I'm just realistically explaining that at some point, the IT director will come back to the marketing team like, you can be as crazy as you want with new business model. as long as I can put this on a flat catalog that is not flexible, because this is what we have today. Which will kill the dynamic. So the good way is to reverse the steam flow and to have an IT ecosystem that by design is flexible. And for this, I'm talking about three things. You need to put in place a revenue architecture, thinking about what you sell, how do you plan the renew, the upsell, the cross-sell, the lifetime value of your customers. Okay, this is the biggest principle. For setting a revenue architecture, you need to have an architecture, technical architecture, tools. Here, very simple, you have best practices. You have the sales solution, call this a CRM, call this a CPQ configurator, call this marketing automation, anything that is sales customer facing. Then you have the ERP, that job is to close the book at the end of the month and not losing money, so tracking that everything is done properly. That's accounting. And then you have the piece in the middle, which is called monetization engine, subscription engine, that will buffer anything that cannot go either left or right. And that's the key for flexibility. So when you have a composable architecture, you can decide that, okay, my hardware will go directly to the ERP like forever. But when I have a service, a piece of service on top, it has to go to this path. Or you can converge everything in one single order to cash. This is the key. And beyond this, you need to have a process, and the process itself should be absolutely flexible. So we're talking about order to cash or lead to revenue, whatever the name you put in this, which will cross a lot of silos in the organization. And the process is here to cross the silos. That is the definition of a process, to my view. And when you have something that is aligned with a nice revenue architecture and supporting tools, you can do things like, why should we let the customer the choice to what I will call the Decathlon choice? You know, when you go to Decathlon, you fall in love with a new bike, for example, and you have 3 labels. You can purchase it net. You give, let's say, 1,000, and you go back forever with your bike. Or you can rent it for a couple of days, or you can have it for a week, or you can subscribe to it for 20, 25 euros per month, and you are assured that you can change your bike as much as you want. So this is the ultimate choice. And I'm talking about a manufacturer, not a reseller. We are talking about physical goods. Let the choice to your customers. And for this, you need to have a revenue architecture and a flexible stack.
Antoine, how
Yes.
did this happen? How many IT managers did you have to convince to open up the flexibility to follow the craziness of the marketing pricing teams?
Absolutely a good point, and really a critical topic to be tackled. So what Olivier you just said really rings a bell for me. I can share the experience I had in Hager. Like I would say almost of any manufacturing company, this is the case also in LACROIX today, that all the IT system is centered around the couple of CRM plus ERP, and sometimes just ERP, to be honest, on some small manufacturing company, which is absolutely not built to sell recurring services. What we did in Hager is interesting because it's come from also the governance of the IT. We decided to clearly split to the two parts of IT. We have the system of record link around the ERP, which is the classical IT services where the customer, or actually the internal customer, efficiency of factory, finance, HR, etc. And we create separately on the side a digital IT structure, digital IT organization to tackle all the customer experience end-to-end. So the customer of this IT part is really the real customer of the company. So allowing to create an end-to-end customer journey fully digital. So including the CRM, code to cash or code to revenue billing system for recurring services, the monetization platform, so we choose Zuora, and the full digital experience up to the provisioning to the service platform. This split really allowed us to work separately with absolutely a different pace, and I would say to then generate this faster iteration and to have a monetization platform like Zuora or any other ones allows us to unlock the product marketing, because the previous reflex was to say, okay, product marketing don't want to make nice packaging and pricing, which was discussed before, because they said, oh, If I do that, the finance team or the customer journey team will become crazy at a point of time. They say we are not able, absolutely not able to invoice and to build this and to follow this over the time. So the monetization platform there is the purpose is to automate the full quote to cash processes over the time to manage all of these recurring actions. So this new entity, this new IT entity was really the counterpart of being able to deploy the service strategy across the company and then to iterate easily in terms of pricing, packaging, and sometimes just with the mouse, just with configuration into the tool by the product marketing. Okay, I want to launch a new package, a new packaging of my offer to try to test and learn. I can do it almost alone without involving each time the IT and have a strong integration to do at each iteration steps or launch of offer.
Yeah, that's the ultimate flexibility that the marketing team from the top of their fingers, they can click and change the pricing model and everything cascades. I can imagine it took quite some time to get there. On your side, Michael, this is a topic, of course, that is your daily bread. But can you make it even our daily bread for today?
So this time I'm going to add a bit more theory. What Antoine and Olivier described is what sometimes is called a multi-model or PaaS IT stack that was coined by Gartner, by the way, a couple years back. The fundamental issue that we all pointed to is that ERP systems are not designed to manage anything but linear processes, transactional sales of products, great system of records for production, logistics, and so on, but cannot handle the speed, the iteration, the complexity of SaaS PaaS lifecycle. The dynamic bundling, usage-based, hybrid, constant contract modification we just discussed. And the key points, let me be very clear on this one. You can't afford that every time you change something, it costs you months and millions. That's the reality. So you need flexibility. You need to be able to iterate on the revenue model because, as I said, it's never good or good enough. So you're going to have to iterate on the revenue model, the customer journey, the process itself, by the way. So what is a multi-model stack, right? It's a two-speed approach to innovation. You keep your system of record to manage business as usual, and you have a system of innovation on the side or on top. That you can see, Antoine, you called it a Lego in the cloud architecture, essentially, composable. You leave all the core processes to ERP, but you stop the old IT, let's call it bottleneck, from killing, especially the early stage of your SaaS growth and the needed iterations. So the stack, and Olivier mentioned that, the system of innovation can actually subscribe or aggregate data from the legacy systems, almost as if they were third-party services that enable you to iterate and scale. And last point is that the integration typically start quite decoupled, and then it can tighten as you grow. So for me, that approach, that two-speed IT approach and process, by the way, and governance approach, it's not just IT as systems, but philosophy, mindset, is actually key in order to activate what Jan, you call the great merge between SaaS and PaaS and product and SaaS, let's put it.
We see the importance then of putting the spotlight on this aspect that nobody voted for, the ERP and the IT alignment. This is crucial to be able to scale. To bring us to the conclusion, we will address now the last pitfall, which is what we call mindset and culture. And I've seen that some of you voted for it. And this might be the biggest pitfall, of course, to manage, because we see that in engineers or product-driven companies, the tendency is to treat the platform, as mentioned by Antoine, as a free product or solution to provide or service to provide to the end customer. So there's a complete blockage to monetize it. And also, one of the aspects that we have seen is that there's a lot of iterations happening on the SaaS in terms of pricing, in terms of features, where on a pure product model, there's a lot of years in certification before the launch. So I would say the way the lifetime of the product and the journey of the product and the roadmaps of the products are being managed is completely different. Your view on the SaaS aspect, Olivier, on this matter? What's the journey of a pure SaaS product compared to a product?
And you're right, yeah. Let's take this from the product perspective. So I'm not opening the debate like should we be a company with product-led growth or sales-led growth? Your choice, your call, and you can adapt, and you have best practices. My point is more how to take the best practices from the pure SaaS players, the ones that have no hardware, so really that don't care if the product is not finished when they launch, to be realistic. The success of the SaaS companies in the early days were to launch fast, to iterate, to wait for there is a stack of complaints. So okay, let's fix this problem because it's starting to be visible. And I'm not negative saying so. It's absolutely pragmatic. What do we develop for getting the next customers? Because everything was growth, which is totally at the opposite of the constraint of an industrial player. Like we need to build a product line. We need to be to get the ISO, the ad hoc ISO certification before we launch the product to certify that we launch with the right level of quality. This is exactly the opposite of the SaaS. So my point is, could we just mitigate a little bit and build it and think that if we launch a platform over an industrial product, why don't we get a little bit of more flexibility, craziness, non-visible robustness from the SaaS? Let me just take an example. If you launch a platform on top of your product as a service, to take a concrete example, do you really need to have the SOC 2 certification to justify that the customer data will be handled properly? Theoretically speaking, with an engineer point of view, yes. Will it break any sale on the first couple of years? No. So as a pragmatic decision, I would say launch the product, learn, and plan in parallel of the next feature to get your customer happy when you move to the enterprise market segment. But at the beginning, it's not necessary. It will just get as an effect to postpone for 6 months or 1 year the launch of your platform, and you will lose a lot of customers and money.
Thank you very much, Olivier, for that. Antoine, you have faced many cultural gaps. I know you like to approach them by organization level.
Yes,
could you guide us through?
It's indeed a way to see it, and actually it's also coming from the experience I had in these two companies. I think we can, culture and mindset change has to occur, that's for sure. And for me, it's really different on the 3 main levels. I would say top management, middle management, and operational team. On top management, it's from my viewpoint absolutely essential that the top management, including the CEO, are absolutely supporting this change. If not, it's really will be soon a real blocker in your transformation towards recurring and services SaaS models. So top management has support, and in top management there is different roles. So I will not have the time here to detail all of those ones, but I would say CEO is absolutely key, and I would say finance, and I see different experience on that. So finance could be really supportive, which is absolutely the case today in LACROIX, where the CFO and the finance are really there to support this change because the impacts are absolutely huge. New KPIs, new P&L, new way to manage the income and the different main KPIs comparing to the classical business product-centric. Also, agile culture, it's absolutely key that the real agile iterative way, just what you very explained well, Olivier, has been fully understood on the top management level. It's absolutely new in manufacturing company to approach this by iteration. We will launch a product is not finished, but we will iterate by the feature, we will iterate for the pricing and packaging. And pricing and packaging is a key to get value with a limited scope we define. It's absolutely new from a company who are used to sell physical product on the field. And of course, when we put physical product on the field, they have to work for life. Middle management is, I would say, another story. It's not because the top management is fully supportive that the middle management will follow. The main point I see is related to what we discussed before about the free to fee. We used to give for free. How I can now to make a fee on it? It's possible, but it's a long journey to embark the team to explain all the techniques in packaging and pricing to move to free to fee. In general, as I said before, and I can make a focus on the product marketing, they are used to come from engineering and R&D, mainly in this manufacturing company, and they have feature hardware product mindset and to move to services, actually to move to customer, actually moving from product to customer. And just like segmentation, for instance, the notion of segmentation, I segment my customer base, it's absolutely new in the experience I have in Lager and LACROIX, that we will develop an offer, a packaging towards our customer. It's not a product we define that we push on the market. That's the main change, cultural change, and the main mindset to be changed. And more on operational team, it will be more linked to really processes and what we define, for instance, for the code to cash and the end-to-end processes, that any roadblocks you have on the line will be a cultural change to embark them, that yes, there will be a new tool on the chain. So the integration and the proper integration end-to-end and the automatization end-to-end we will define will be a key for embark them too, but many roadblocks also on the operational level, also linked to the culture of iteration, test and learn, and I would say agile.
So important to address indeed the 3 layers on this matter. I would love to continue this discussion. Of course, looking at the time we have left, I would propose to switch to the questions we have received in the chat. Marie-Neige, can you help us to guide us through the received questions?
Of course, yes. So the first one is, how long does it usually take to see results from a SaaS-enabled platform? Do you want to share your insights?
How long did it take you?
The change in purely software company moving from perpetual license to SaaS already takes some years. Here we have, additionally to this, the physical product and all this change we discussed today. I would say that for me, the time frame for change is between 5 to 7 years, I would say. But I don't know if, Michael, you share this viewpoint. Or, yeah.
5 to 7 years. Michael, can you shorten it, please, for the audience?
Yes. No, to keep it simple, I'm going to answer your response by a question by another question. So I agree with the number that was shared, by the way, to have like a material impact. And I would say what's important is that you frame, especially to the CFO, what is the benchmark by which you want to be judged. And perception is important. So probably the first year, second year is to demonstrate that you have a product and solution market fit, and actually some level of pricing market fit, right? So in that case, you're not necessarily looking for high volume, you're looking for some deals. So I would say you can start having some results after 2 years. It's not going to be material. It can be faster, but rule of thumb, 2 years. And then to your point, 5 years, you start having material impact. The key point is offers go to the office of the CFO to die. So you have to make the CFO your best friend in order to buy time to build that offering. You cannot have 0 results in 2 years, that's for sure, but don't expect to make 20 or 30% of your revenue unless you do massive M&As. That's what I'm trying to say. So define your metrics of success and change them. 5 years will be material, 2 years could be a good result already to move the needle, let's say.
Thank you, Michael.
I have one example to shorten. Yeah. Sorry, this one is important. I will shorten. If you delegate the commercial relationship with those customers to a network of partners, which is usually the case in the industry, and you go as a service, so you go direct to customer because you serve the customers, you can start day one to monitor the usage. So you are very well engaged to know how your platform is used, what will be the next pricing, how to penetrate the market. For me, the value is day one. Is it short enough for you, Ian?
Okay, 1 day is okay. Yeah. Let's start tomorrow. Marina, the second question.
And the second question is, what are the key success metrics for a platform beyond recurring revenue?
Antoine, what are your KPIs, if we may ask?
The main KPIs for me is the ARR. So we measure the ARR comparing to the top line, the global top line of the company. And I think many of industrial companies now, maybe the big ones, are publishing their ARR, and I think it's a global recognized metrics for SaaS and also more and more for industrial manufacturing company who start to sell services.
Mm-hmm. Michael, Olivier, another metrics you have in mind?
I'm just going to add, so to agree with Olivier, I would say that initially the first metrics you need are utilization metrics because they're the leading indicators of success. Olivier just mentioned it. I would say it depends on the model. If your digital offers are standalone, then revenue is what you're gonna live and die by. If you consider that this is part of a broader flywheel, in that case, it's really important that from day one, you measure the incremental product sales and the fact that, for example, you reduce the average discount rate for customers who have digital offers, meaning that you need to have a cohort of customers who have these new offers on top of the transactional sales, because as we said, maybe it's going to be 5-10% of your revenue total, and the ones that did not adopt these new offerings, and you compare the two. And then you're able to demonstrate that there's also an indirect yet measurable impact that could be much bigger than the direct revenue that you generate from these offers. And that's really important, that it should be part of the discussion, again, you have with your CFO early on. It requires longer time series, at least 18 months to 2 years to be able to demonstrate that, though. Make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you. Time to conclude. So we've seen that a great merge is possible if you have commercial practices, monetization and packaging, good pricing, systems and tools, the mindset and culture. I think we have addressed quite some topics. Now, Marie-Neige, I'll let you the pleasure to conclude.
Thank you very much. Yes. So now the key questions for all of you is to be able to see where you fit within those 4 dimensions, and what you're going to be your plan for next year to address them. So to give you some concrete ideas to start with, we're going to share with you, of course, the recording of this webinar. And also we're going to share with all of you a white paper that we created on this great merge topic. So you have concrete applications examples to get going.
Yes, well, I just want to say thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Of course, thank you, Antoine, for your presence. Michael and Olivier, everyone from the Winch team who's been behind the production of this webinar. Thank you and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.